Psychedelics are getting investors' attention. They're replacing weed as the next get-rich-quick play for the edgy investors who are looking to make early-stage moves. So why now? Here to discuss is Bloomberg reporter Tiffany Carey, who covers cannabis live in New York. Tiffany, why are psychedelics drawing investors from cannabis right now?
Yeah, it's really been a big thing lately. I think people see this as the next get rich quick mechanism, the next sort of up and coming thing, just like you saw in the early stages of cannabis, where, now cannabis is on the cusp of legalization. There's a lot more money that's flowed into the space. It's a little more known. And people see what a great opportunity that was a few years ago, although it went through a bit of a bust, and they're hoping for, to discover the next big thing here. I think especially in the time of COVID, people are more aware of anxiety, depression, stress, and the effect that people turn to drugs for to escape these things.
Right. We've spent a lot of time on Quick Take over the last few weeks talking about the regulatory landscape and how it could change in the coming years and even in the coming months for marijuana. But give us an idea of the regulatory framework or one that exists or maybe does not exist for some of these words that I have never, I think it's fair to say, seen in a Bloomberg news story. Ayahuasca ceremonies, psilocybin, and then Ibogaine. I think I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, Ibogaine, it's an ingredient in ayahuasca. Well, it's in a way, it's following a similar path to cannabis in that it's still federally illegal, but you have some cities that are decriminalizing it, meaning they change the law. So there's an indication there that the police aren't really going to enforce possession or small quantity if people are caught with small quantities. And then just in the November elections, when all the cannabis votes came in, they also had this in Oregon actually legalized in a therapeutic setting. So in a way, there's a parallel there. And people say, well, if cannabis got that far by beginning with cities and states, maybe these psychedelic drugs will follow the same path. But at the same time, you have a lot of these companies just doing this in a narrow way, not looking at recreational use, but just pursuing a sort of FDA pathway to get these drugs approved for very narrow reasons.
Well, there is an opportunity for retail investors to buy pot stocks, but some of the names that you talk about in your recent story on Bloomberg include some really well-known private investors. Peter Thiel, for example, early PayPal investor, Facebook board member, and then also David Bronner, who's the CEO of Dr. Bronner's Soaps, which I think a lot of people are familiar with. Is there an opportunity for retail investors yet, or is it really just these big names right now?
Well, I think a lot of these companies are very early stage. So these are people who are doing, seed rounds or Series A rounds. It's obviously not where most retail investors are, but a lot of these companies are going public. I think there's around 25 now on the Canadian exchanges. So you do see some retail investors getting involved. I think there's definitely a sort of caveat emptor, buyer beware message from some of the early stage investors saying, look, we really don't know. These are like biotech stocks. You don't know if they're going to get FDA approval. And if so, how narrow or wide the use for some of these compounds might be.
Bloomberg News consumer goods reporter Tiffany Carey, live from New York. Tiffany, thanks for your time. It's good to see you on Quick Take today.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.